Hello, everyone. This is Edo Ninja, and you are now listening to the Storm Connect podcast, published by the podcast network known as the Sigil Arts. I talk about gaming topics and animated series of my own interests, like Ruby, Hunter x Hunter, Persona 5 Royal, and so on forward. The goal I aim to accomplish on every episode is to provide insights on these subjects that are usually overlooked, to spread awareness, and learn more. So, in the week of September 13th, there has been a lot going on with the companies having presentations and, a lot of reveals of game titles and series and such. So, rest assured, I plan to have them covered in the podcast for the next couple weeks, so I hope you all look forward to that. So, to start things off, today we are going to be talking about Apple's lengthy presentation, only talking about the Apple Watch and iPad. However, I do have a special guest with me here today to go back and forth with. So, special guest, please introduce yourself.
Hi, how's it going, everyone? My name is Joshu, happy to be on the podcast today.
Pleasure to have you here with me, Joshu. So before we start this podcast, I want to quickly mention this, and I believe it's actually super important that you pay attention before we actually get started with a podcast episode. For those of you that are listening here today, we here at the Sigil Arts Network, alongside with the hosts of their own shows, we hereby proudly stand with the Black Lives Matter campaign. This year, we've had a huge surge of injustices, and as much as that we can only say that we hope for this to end, this is not going to end. It will not end until we seriously push forth on this change. The problem that I have with this is the fact that it should not have to be a discussion. But because of the ignorance of the racism that we've had in our history, more casualties are added on to our statistics. And recently, Cornelius Fredericks, he was murdered for throwing a sandwich and then was tackled to the ground. He was choked unconscious by staff members of the Lakeside Academy in Michigan, a facility that deals with juveniles and orphans, and unfortunately, he was pronounced deceased 2 days after the tragedy and was deemed as a homicide. Michael Mosley, Zachary Solis, and Heather McLogan were accused of this murder. However, they were released on $500K on personal bonds, according to the court records. I don't understand why in the fuck that this even has to be I don't know why that this is even allowed. This is completely illogical that there are more debts added and there's no change to our justice system. Equality and about the whole peaceful protest and such, it's bullshit. A lot of people are furious about this shit, and it's why? Just why this has to be a thing, I highly recommend that you all join the conversation for a better and more equal tomorrow by using the hashtag Black Lives Matter, BLM, or the full-on length of the hashtag Black Lives Matter on Twitter, Instagram, and your other social medias that you usually utilize on a daily basis. And you can also go to the website, www.blacklivesmatters.com, to join the cause and end the divide between people. We need to get this done. We need to have this discussion to continue to actually bring forward change. We can't just give up now. We can do this. And hope that nobody else suffers anymore, Well, with that being said, let's just start off with our the podcast. We're back to the Apple presentation and such. So it was interesting that Apple only had to talk about with the Apple Watch and the iPad. We were usually around this time of the year, we usually expect the iPhone to be revealed alongside with updates to the Apple Watch and such. We usually expect the iPad to be a little bit later in the year, or usually in springtime, not usually now. However, they talked about the Apple Watch and the iPads for a good hour and 20 minutes. And there was actually a lot that they revealed in this presentation. So I'm not gonna lie, I'm actually really impressed of what they actually had to showcase. I thought it was going to be a lot of talking out to our ears, but it was actually really, really useful and helpful information, and especially to what they're offering to the consumers. So to start that off, they first talked about the Apple Watch. So they pretty much revealed two of them, which is the Series 6 and the Apple Watch SE. So the Series 6, it's pretty cool. It's
I
actually
think it's kind of insane.
It's actually stupid cool. And I love of how they are actually like cater more into of what they're doing, especially due to our circumstances with COVID-19 and such. They have done a lot of catering towards to our circumstances as of now. So the first notable feature that they have included to the Series 6 is that they have a blood oxygen sensor, and they put like what it does is the fact that like it had like on the bottom of the actual like screen device of the Apple Watch, there are sensor lights that usually like it's showing that it's actually detecting or measuring your blood oxygen and such, and then it actually tells you of where you're at and such, especially like it will give you detailed information about your mobility, where you're at and stuff like that, your activity, and you know it actually does a like from what they presented, it does like a thorough job on that. It's impressive. So but yeah, no, they seem to have put a lot of effort into the health research department for that, and basically you could be your own doctor before you can actually go see one. So yeah, I guess we're canceling doctors in 2020.
Guess so. I mean, I have to give them props for all the like the money and research that they're putting into just health research in general. They're putting like a lot of their resources into health research, which I think is insane.
Right.
Because like usually their main like flagship change for the year is always like a health upgrade to the watch.
What I also love about it too is the fact that like, you know, like they like one thing I can actually like give Apple is the fact that like they care so much of the well-being and the concerns of their consumers, basically to like worldwide and to our environment as well. They're really, really stingy about that, which, you know, I love that. They usually keep up with their policy on that. So I love that they're upholding to that principle highly to this day.
Yeah, I gotta give them props for all that.
So another thing that they also have included into the Series 6 is that it's an S6 chip, and it's pretty much a much more brighter always on display. So I didn't think that was going to be possible, but hey, I guess that's just me underestimating technology these days. Oh my goodness.
I guess so. I mean, I have the Series 5 right now, and I'm like, I mean, the always on display, like when you're not using it, it's pretty bright. I mean, it does the job. I mean, it doesn't need to be on. They like have a variable refresh rate. It goes down to like 1 frame a second. So it like saves battery. So I didn't know that they can like improve on that. So, I mean, that's interesting to see.
Right. So yeah, another thing that they also have included to the Series 6, well, it's now like more of a new thing that they're doing from this point on. It's now a new solo loop around like of where your wrist goes in the watch. So if there's no such thing for like latches or holes, it's just now like one connected loop all together that way.
Yeah, I mean that's interesting. I didn't think that is like a thing people wanted or anything like that. So it's interesting to see that they're like, I guess, making everything more minimalistic.
I mean, like, I'm, like, for the materials that they've used for, like, what they had to offer, like, they seem, like, pretty good. Like, at least, like, you know, again, like, they put, like, a lot of care and thought into it. I'm just surprised that they did that because I would assume a lot of people would like to have their customization as to, like, what could be, like, the latches or, like, you know, the holes that as to how they would want to present their watch with whatever they're wearing, you know? So, but I guess that now that they're doing this, I don't know exactly how to feel about that. I think it's because that like they want you to use like the latches or like, you know, the loops that they're providing rather than like you like modify it on your own maybe, or I don't know if this is something that like, you know, they've actually have built it into the loop alone itself. I doubt it, but yeah, I don't know. I think it's usually a lot for the customizations that usually people would prefer though, but I guess I was wrong.
Yeah, it's interesting to see. I guess it's just kind of like here's another accessory if you wanted to.
Right. So, but other than that, that's all that there really has to mention about the Apple Watch Series 6. It's only going to be up to $400, $399. When did they say that they were releasing this again?
It's releasing, I think, on the 18th, on Friday.
Oh, 18th. Oh, well, there you go. Very soon. So if you're interested of being your own doctor rather than going to one immediately and such, well, there's your solution right there. If you have the financial funds for it, that is. So, the next thing, they have uncovered this, which I kind of want to talk a little bit about this part. So they reveal the Apple Watch SE. Now, so Joshu was watching my stream, right? And, when they were still talking about a little bit more of what they were doing with the Apple Watches and stuff like that, and, like, literally seconds before, they were about to reveal, like, the next title of the Apple Watch, he literally was just like, oh, watch, it's gonna be Apple Watch SE, and it literally was called Apple Watch SE. I'm sorry, but...
I didn't think it was gonna be called that. I was just thinking, like, oh, they gotta call it something dumb. I didn't think they would, like, copy the iPhone lineup, because, like, no other product has that, like, tagline. It's only the iPhone, so, like, if you wanted to get a different iPad, it's either iPad Air or Mini. So I was, like, kind of thrown that. I thought that was kind of funny that they're calling it Apple Watch SE. So I think that's a weird name choice. Like, maybe, I don't know. I guess any other names that I could think of, like Apple Watch Lite or anything,
right,
kind of sounds silly, but I just thought it was funny that that's the name they're choosing.
Yeah, because, I mean, like, you nailed it on the dot right there. And I'm sorry, like, Apple's becoming way too predictable of, like, how they're doing their namings for their products, especially when they're making, like, a cheaper model version of, like, you know, of what, like, the Pro is of whatever this model could be. For like, the example, as you mentioned, that the iPhone, they had that similar type of concept with the MacBook, the Max lineup. And now they brought that onto the iPads and such, and now guess what? We're here with the Apple Watch SE. Not Apple Watch Air, not Apple Watch Pro, Apple Watch SE. Wow.
Who would have thought?
So I guess you could say for this one, it's like a little bit cheaper. It's the body of the Series 6 with internals of a Series 5. If that makes any sense, and that's only going to be costing at $279, which ain't that bad. It actually is not that bad for that type of, like, you know, for the product like that. It's decent, actually, especially for, like, for the other components that they're offering.
That's a pretty decent price. I also thought, I think it's interesting though that since they're selling the Apple Watch SE, and then the Series 6, they're still offering the Series 3 for $199, which I think is interesting because it's a weird deal. I guess if someone was, like, really needing an Apple Watch and just couldn't make that $279 price point, I guess it's easier to just go for $199 and cut the features that the SE has. But I think it's still interesting that they're offering the Series 3 for $199, but also at the same time, on the flip side of it, I guess it's good to just cater to, like, all consumers in terms of these products, because I mean, these Apple products, I mean, they could get pretty pricey.
Speaking of pricey, there is something that I kind of want to talk about with the prices. I'm gonna mention a little bit more about this at the end, though, but I will say, just for you guys to have a little bit of a snippet of when I'm gonna make this point later. Thus, all of their products, for what they price them, it's a big surprise. Because as Joshua has mentioned, they're usually pricey. And especially up to the extra of the top notch of the point where you want to label them as a scam. It's not that bad for this case, surprisingly. Yeah, maybe a couple cases, but that's debatable with anybody on that. So.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, no, they're going to be pricing up to $279. So, and then of course, as mentioned before, the $400, $399 for the Series 6. I really don't have much else to say about the Apple Watch SE. It's pretty much almost the same overview.
Yeah, it's just a cool addition to the lineup, I guess.
Right. Yeah. So, so what more that they're bringing onto this? Correct. They're making their, like, I guess you could say software, if you want to call it that. They're kind of, like, integrating a little bit more on whichever Apple device that you have. which basically, like, again, they're having a little bit more into the integration with the iPhone, the iPad, the Mac, and stuff like that, whatever. But this part, we don't have much information about, because I do have some questions about it. They did not go over that in the presentation, unless it's just straightforward to the point as is, then just, wow, that's actually crazy. But, they have this thing called the family sharing feature, and they specifically presented this in the Apple Watch section of this presentation. And what it allows you to do is the fact that you can set up an Apple Watch for other members of the family that you have under that account, or the plan in general. You can give them that, you can create an account for them and number without having an iPhone. That part was surprising.
Insane. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of crazy. I mean, like, that's their whole thing. Is like, if you're in the ecosystem, you're in the ecosystem. You have an Apple Watch, you got that iPhone, there's a good chance you got a MacBook. Like, they're really tight about that whole ecosystem. But them opening the door just a little bit for that is like, I guess it's like good for kids if like they want an Apple Watch but they don't have an iPhone yet. It's kind of interesting that they're like, okay, for this one exception, if you want, you don't need an iPhone for the Apple Watch anymore, which is it. I think that's crazy.
Right. I'm curious as to like how like one of my questions is the fact that is to like how expansion that they're having with that, because again, like as Joshua has mentioned earlier, like this is pretty much like the big door that they're opening with. I don't know if it's going to be like Bluetooth friendly among with like other devices. I doubt that part. However, in terms of receiving messages and calls and stuff like that, like,
it's gotta be like Wi-Fi or cellular.
Right, and especially like for those that don't want an iPhone, they just want the watch so then they can accept the calls and stuff like that. I guess that option is now just available, which that means like the Apple Watch can stand alone without having the iPhone, which is amazing actually. So if anything, in other words, that Apple Watch could be your phone.
I mean, yeah, it could.
So I think that's actually really cool. I hope that they actually give a little bit more details about that, to see like how much you can do. If not, then we will find out by the time that it's released and to when that feature is available, and then we'll just find out from there though. But they kind of just said like, oh yeah, this is the thing, and then they just kind of went on in the presentation. It's like, wait, no, I have questions. What are you doing?
Yeah, they kind of glanced over it very quickly and like, oh, here we go. You can have an Apple Watch now without an iPhone, and then just boom, next thing. And I was like, wait, well, hold on a second.
You really tried it, Apple. I am not forgetting that feature. I'm gonna need you to run that back real quick.
Yeah, they just jumped the gun on that one and then said, okay, here's the info. Okay, bye. Next thing. Let's move on. Like,
yeah, no, if you see me spamming about that on Twitter, but you already know. But anywho, so the next thing that they decided to glance over and talk about this a lot, compared it to the family sharing account plan, it is the Apple Fitness Plus. They talked a lot about, like, because we're in this pandemic and stuff like that, like they said that getting in shape is like one of their most important things that they wanted to focus. So for this part, they have personalized fitness workouts from about 10 categories, if I'm not mistaken. And they just help you to stay fit indoors because of this pandemic, and like, for wherever you are at least. And they just give you, like, it's usually like updated regularly, and it is only for $9.99 a month. Unless they have the yearly option plan, then that's another story.
Yeah, but I don't know how I feel. I mean, I guess it's great, because of the pandemic, you can't go outside a lot. I mean, you can get on like morning walks or runs or whatever, but like you can't, a lot of places still, you can't go to the gym like some people did. So I guess yeah, it's hard to stay fit. And it's kind of interesting how they like implemented this, because it's like you can start it on your watch, and then it can show up on your phone, your iPad, or the Apple TV, which is interesting. So I don't know. I don't know how I feel about it. I guess maybe the price is like throwing me off because a lot of their other subscriptions are like 99 cents a month, $2, like for iCloud, it's like $2 a month. They're like Apple Arcade and TV are $4.99. But I guess this is like, it's close to like that you're getting up to like, it's the same around about a gym membership, I guess.
Right. Yeah,
But-
and that's my I actually have like a question about that, because it's just like, is it something that like they're providing on their own, or could anybody participate to uploading like videos to these categories and such, and then Apple has to review them? I'm not so sure.
I think they said it's like from their personalized trainers that they have hired at Apple. So it's like
I see.
their professional trainers are leading these workouts. I mean, hey, don't get me wrong. I think I might get it because it's like, I mean, it's really hard to stay fit when I'm sitting on a chair for like 6 hours a day. And then it's like, oh, I can't do a lot outside. So, I mean, it might be super helpful for some people, and I might try it out because I think you get 30 days free or something like that. So I think it's interesting to try out, and they spent a lot of time on this. I spent a huge chunk of the Apple Watch portion of this presentation on this Apple Fitness Plus.
Right. Yeah, I don't know. I think this is something that, like, you know, they want to promote, that, like, you know, that they have the best of the best, which I guess that's why it's only for the exclusives. And I don't know. I'm sure there are other people that like to have, like, you know, to have their personalization as to what they have right now, and they want to have that integration. I don't know if they're going to be open-minded about that in the future. I think I think that they want to have this as a test out to see how well this does. And if it goes well, then it will just remain as is. If not, then I think they're gonna have to start opening the doors in order to like keep up with this type of subscription and such, and then go from there though. But I don't know. I feel like for the price of that, like, again, like I'm on the same page with you on that. Is the fact that it's $9.99 a month, which I'm not so sure exactly how to feel. Maybe like if it's really good, if once we hear the reviews of it, I probably would be more inclined to see. Because, like, I can get, like, the fact that they hired these professionals and such, and, like, they pretty much took a lot of time out of their days and such to, like, record a lot of videos and maybe do re-recordings and stuff like that here and there. So we're not exactly sure as to what they've done. But, I don't know. It's a very interesting service.
It is for sure.
Yeah, it's up to you guys if you think that this is worth it or not, though. I mean, again, as Joshua mentioned, there's a 30-day trial. You can test it out yourself, and then you can see if it's worth the money, if it's actually necessary or not.
Yeah, I might try out that trial just for a bit, just to see if it's worth it, you know, because I don't know. It's like in concept, it sounds cool. I guess I'm just a little bit iffy on the price point.
Yeah. Well, time for you to make a review.
Yeah. Stay tuned for my review of Apple Fitness Plus.
Talking about with all these like fitness trainers and such, and that you're just like about to crack your bone.
Yeah, really.
Oh my god.
So that wraps it up for Apple Watch, though. Right?
Yeah. So there is one more thing that they kind of have mentioned in the I think they did this in the Apple Watch section, but like this, like we're gonna kind of like pinpoint that for right now, because there's very juicy information before we talk about that. So we're gonna move on forward to the iPad upgrades.
Oh boy.
So
I was intrigued about all this stuff.
Yeah, the iPad upgrades, I didn't think this was gonna be a thing. I didn't think they were even gonna be touched, period. But
oh no,
they proved to be wrong. They actually shut me the fuck up.
Yeah.
So for anybody that has recently purchased an iPad Pro, rest assured that's the only iPad that did not get an upgrade. However, what they did upgrade was the iPad Air and the iPad in general, the base of the iPad, now known as the iPad 8th generation. So there's a lot more to have the discussion with an iPad Air. So before we go a little bit more further about that, I'm gonna just say this right now. it is literally the iPad Pro, but cheaper.
Oh
Like,
yeah, for sure.
The iPad Air is just basically a fancy way to say exactly what it is. Like, because the iPad Air, it wasn't like anything like too special. But what they did with this, it's like, okay, now you can actually call it the iPad Air. It's actually something really special.
Oh yeah, it's just a Pro, but I think a little smaller and definitely a lot cheaper.
So, if anybody has been always interested for an iPad Pro, but, you know, you're on a tight budget, I will say the iPad Air packs some type of crazy power and definitely worth it. So, it has a major upgrade. First off, to talk about with its specs and such, it has a new A14 Bionic chip. Now, oh my god, this part, oh my god, not even Intel does this shit, but 5 fucking nanometers. I can't get over that.
That's insane. That's insane, bro.
That's better than the freaking the freaking processor that I have in my PC right now. What I hate everything.
Oh yeah. It was so weird. They stuck on this point for a while too. Like they were down there in the lab and they were showing everything off and they were really pushing forward that we made. I think they talked about something and like it's so small, some of the components are like measured in atoms or something like that, and I was like, what the hell are they talking about?
Yeah, no, if you guys actually like go watch the Apple presentation for yourself, I'm going to link the Apple's presentation into the podcast there. But when you go there to see it, like, they were talking, like, all this scientific shit. I'm like, am I back in school? Like, did I miss something? Holy shit, calm down. They really brought out science up to the table.
I know. I mean, 5 nanometer, that's so incredibly small. They also talked about it having, like, 12 billion transistors in it. And, like, you even said it's better than the new Intel chips. I think the new Intel, like, 10th gen chips are, like, 14 nanometers. And it's like, how did you do? I want to know how they did it. Like, that's insane.
If they could actually, like, make this available for, like, PCs and stuff like that, I need to replace my processor that I have right now, because I'm going to sell that for this shit just because it's 5 goddamn nanometers with 12 billion transistors. Like, how? I need
don't know
that.
How they did it. Yeah, and then after all the tech stuff, they're like, it could do this, and after this, and they just slammed in the fact of all this stuff that it could do. And I'm like, what? Oh my god.
So, speaking of those details to what Joshua is referencing to, so they literally, this is an iPad Air, by the way. Not the iPad Pro, the iPad Air. It can edit in 4K footage. 4K footage! Raw!
Dude.
It has 4K 60! Capable camera! And the display is 2360 by 1640. I need this to stop.
I need the MKBHD review. I need some kind of preview on this, because that is insane. 4K footage. You can edit 4K RAW on an iPad Air. What?
I'm tired of this. I'm actually tired of this. They really decided to like bring out the big guns because of this pandemic. They had no choice. So
yeah, they're like we got nothing better to do. I mean, why not? Let's have an iPad edit 4K footage.
That it's just still beyond me. And I better like when I see that better be smooth. Like, I don't want, like, any type of lagging or crashing on that iPad. That better be, like, good type of smooth for an A14 Bionic chip. Don't screw with me here, man.
I know. That's a little crazy. And they, like, went through all this thing. Like, iPad OS is getting really impressive now, too. Like, with iPad OS 14 or whatever, with like the handwriting, and you can like copy it and paste it as just text. Like, it'll detect your handwriting, and like I don't know, man. The iPad is getting pretty darn powerful. I think for its own good, it's getting insanely powerful.
See, it's actually serving its purpose as an actual what a tablet's supposed to be. Because
Mm-hmm.
from the previous past, the first introduction to that was the fact that like when they first announced the iPad, like the first ever iPad I'm talking about here. Like,
Mm-hmm.
it's good because this is supposed to be like, you know, one of those type of mobile devices that's supposedly like a considerable cheaper option for a laptop. However, it did not serve that purpose well because of what it was for a while was pretty much a giant size iPhone. But, you know, as the developers kind of helped out with this, they made specific apps to cater to that type of iPad to have more better accessibility and to, you know, actual exclusive features that would be very helpful, especially when it comes to people's work fields and productivity. Now,
Oh yeah.
for how this has aged, no wonder why they are now number one in the tablet market. They are kicking everybody's ass on that shit. They're not fucking around with this shit. Like now, like it's actually serving its purpose, especially to
Mhm.
like of how flexible it is, of how versatile it is. It's going to everywhere. So it's just like at that point, you don't need a laptop anymore. Almost to that extent.
Oh
So
yeah. I think their
Mhm.
tagline for the iPad Pro when it came out is "Your next computer isn't a computer." So I don't know. They're pushing this stuff hard, and they really nailed on Chromebooks too when they were doing the comparisons, and they're like, it's
Ooh.
5 times faster than the highest end Chromebook out there. So they're like, they're trying to compete with laptops in a sense, which is interesting because it seems like they're also competing in it with themselves with their MacBook lineup of how powerful these iPads are getting.
See, that's something that I don't understand with Apple because they make a competition among with the other companies, but also within themselves. It's like, whoa.
Yeah.
I think they're
It's
getting
like,
too powerful here.
I know. I'm like, what are you doing? Like, I want my MacBook to edit 4K footage without the battery exploding.
Oh man.
I, but I guess we'll get to that later.
Yeah, no, actually there is something that we're gonna discuss about that with the Max a little bit later in this podcast. So also another notable feature is the fact that they replaced the lightning port connector in favor of the USB-C. So again, it's the iPad Pro, but cheaper. And another thing to go on with that, just for the icing on the cake, or the cherry on top, is that
Mhm.
it has the Apple Pencil functionality.
Yeah, it's compatible with Gen 1 and Gen 2 Apple Pencil.
Yep. And
So-
literally, you could just plug it into, you could just literally attach it to the side and it starts charging.
That's
just
it.
like how it would to the iPad Pro. Same thing with the iPad Air. It does that.
Yeah.
Now,
Like,
oh, go ahead.
no, I was just saying it's like they're really trying to make this like the little brother of the iPad Pro.
Mm-hmm. I think the notable difference, and this is what had me shocked. So not only like they give the iPad Air a fresh look because it looked a little bit more like their base iPad with their iPad Air. Now they gave a little bit more of the iPad, what do you call that? The iPad Pro feeling to it. So, and it has a little bit more of a unique look to it though, but again, it's leaning towards to the Pro feel. But
Mhm.
what I found very interesting, which I think it's really cool that they did this. I didn't think this, well, it is possible. Like, I figured it would be, though, but it's just the way of how they went about it is interesting, which I think this is the reason why it's priced for the way that it is, and especially for, like, you know, a cheaper option.
Mhm.
So for iPhones and for, you know, the current iPad Pro and such, they have this thing called Face ID. And that's how you are able to unlock your device and such. While in certain other devices with the Apple lineup, they usually have Touch ID, which they usually include a home button to that, or an extra button, which they would have for the Mac Pro. For this, they completely removed the home button, but they have the Touch ID on the power button of the iPad Air, which I thought that was cool. because it's like, you know, it actually makes a huge difference, because it's just like, especially to like the Face ID, because if they were to incorporate that for the iPad Air, then it would be a little bit more expensive. At that point, it will just be only $100 cheaper than the iPad Pro. But there's a significant difference, which we're going to get to that at that point, though. The Touch ID, it serves the purpose to unlock it, and of course for, you know, user recognition. So I found that very interesting, the fact that they incorporate the power button as the Touch ID, and actually, again, like, give that new look for it, just to basically say, well, again, as we reiterated this multiple times, this is the cheaper option.
Yeah, and I thought that was interesting. Like, they didn't do that with the iPad Pro, and I guess that like really changes the price difference, because like I guess you need more sensors and cameras in the iPad Pro than you would in the Air, because it only has Touch ID. But like, I think that's a bold move, and I guess we'll get to this later. Then that this might be incorporated into their, you know, other products, but I don't know. That's a cool thing. I guess it makes it cheaper. You don't need to put Face ID in it, but you still get that that Touch ID that everyone loves so much. So I guess that's a cool feature that they've added to that there.
So and yeah, no, like, again, this is all priced for $599 at the starting base of it, and it's going to be available in October. We don't know when exactly in October, though, but they said that that's the time when the new iPad Air releases. And also, it comes in different colors.
It does. I don't know. I was looking at it, and I saw a lot of people in my in my Zoom classes today. I was like, I'm gonna be honest, I saw a lot of people taking notes with an iPad, and I was looking at it, and I was like, I don't know, man. I might. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there that it could be a very useful note-taking tool, and among other things. But I'm like, what? I don't know. I'm kind of on the fence about like getting it, because I'm like, I'm on the fence, because I'm like, this is nice. I was never really interested in an iPad until like a few months ago. A lot of people were like, yeah, I'll use it for notes and all that stuff. It's really helpful for school. And I'm like, I don't know. Now that it's at that lower price point and I don't have to spend $800 on an iPad, I mean, it's looking pretty appealing. I'm gonna be honest.
Yeah, and especially for anybody that's like into the creative field and stuff like that. Again, like, this is like more of an actual budget of it, especially to like of how Apple is really enforcing the idea of its, like, you know, the purpose of the educational uses, and basically for anyone that's you know, an editor, a creative artist, and so on forward. So yeah, no, it's definitely worth, like, for me at least, like, until like we can actually get a thorough review of it, though. Like, so far it's definitely a huge grab for everybody to get this cheaper end model of basically of the Pro lineup. Again, I know it's not part of the Pro lineup, but this is the cheaper
it basically is.
It is at this point.
Yeah.
So that's all I really have to say about the iPad Air. It was like basically like one of the also like wow things that they're doing. So another iPad that has gotten the upgrade, as mentioned before, is the iPad 8th generation. There's not too much that we could really say onto this, though, but like it pretty much has like a very, very good refresh as to using a little bit more of the updated components, the chipsets, and so on forward. It has the new A12 chip. It also has the Apple Pencil functionality, but it doesn't have the charger end like the iPad Air and Pro does. So, but basically, like, they're kind of like that. That's basically like your end of the deal of the cheapest iPad, but it's not going to go to the extent of what the Air does or the Pro. However,
I'm gonna be
yeah,
I think the Air is probably your best bet. If you can make that leap, I think the Air is probably the best bet for someone to go for.
Yeah, because I would not want to settle for less either. Because the regular iPad, it's also going to be serving the purpose of $329, which, you know, it's still like a good decent price for it. especially for like, like the cheapest end of the lineup and such though. But if you put in the couple extra 100, if you have that, again, I feel like your Air is going to be like the best thing if you want the, especially the functionality of flexibility and adaptability for whatever that suits your needs, especially for work purposes and so on forward as to get the job done essentially. So yeah, no, the iPads, I think they're gonna be good for a long time at least, especially to the circumstances that we're placed under as of right now. But so for all of the devices that they showcase, the Apple Watch Series 6, the SE, the iPad Air, and the 8th generation upgrade, it was not only worth watching the 1 hour and like 10 to 20 minutes presentation, but that's a lot for what they prepared for the presentation.
Oh, yeah.
Which if that's what we can, like, if this is what we're getting right now for like a couple devices here and there, I can't imagine what the rest of the lineup for the other devices that are going to be offering. I can't imagine what that's going to look like, which again, we're going to get a little bit more into that. So I mentioned this earlier. I believe, like I said, I believe this was mentioned at the Apple Watch section, but they kind of like included some type of features here and there in the iPad Pro section, or the iPad Pro, the iPad section of this whole entire thing. So there's this new subscription service that they're now calling it the Apple One, because they start to have all these other services for other things that they usually provide out to their consumers, and now like they do a lot of these, they're now having an all-out one type idea. So what this is that the subscription service, it pretty much combines of all their subscriptions into one big service. And you could do the individual plan, the family plan, and the premier plan. Now, before I get into this real quick, something that bothers me about this, like, I want to believe that this is because that they probably thought out the ideas of what are the services that they want to offer, but because of how much money that people were spending on the other services that became available, like the iCloud, the music, and the TV and stuff like that, I feel like this should have been a service that should have been offered a long time ago. It's good that they're offering this now, but holy shit, I feel like this is just like way overdue. And some of us do what the plans include and such, it's a little bit weird. Like, to an extent I can understand, but something about this kind of throws me off in some odd way. So starting that off is that their individual plan, it includes the TV, the music, the arcade, the iCloud, which you get pretty much 50 gigabytes of that storage, and yeah, that's it. And it's only for $14.95 per month, or the yearly subscription service that they're probably gonna give you the year for. Maybe, I don't know if they're doing that again. But that's pretty much as to what their monthly plan is, and that's only for the individual, which I guess that's fine and all, but like,
yeah,
fitness is not included into this. So it's like, if you were to get the individual plan and also get the fitness, it's going to total up a lot more.
Yeah, I mean, for what it's offering, I guess it's worth it, because Apple Music itself, if you're not a university student, it's $10 a month. So I guess in that sense, I guess it's worth it a little bit, but I'm just surprised that they're calling it Apple One and they're like, here, let's throw everything in one subscription, but then there's like 3 different plans.
Yep. So the next one with that is the family plan, which this one's a little bit different, and which, this one, it makes sense. So you basically share up among with 5 other people. Again, there's no any changes, or they're not adding anything to it except with sharing among with 5 people on this plan, and you get 200 gigabytes of iCloud storage. So at this one, I understand. However, there's one more plan which this part I don't get it. I actually deadass do not understand this. So this one, they call it the Premier plan. And that one is $29.95 per month. And you also get to share this among with 5 other people. Now, they also, basically, as mentioned, they have that available, plus News Plus and Fitness Plus, which fitness and news are only exclusive to Premiere, not with family or individual. And for the iCloud, they update this to 2 terabytes. So I'm not so sure as to why News Plus and Fitness Plus are exclusive to the Premiere plan, because that's pretty much with those 3 things that I just mentioned, that's like the only thing that's like notable of what makes the family plan and the individual plan a huge difference though. But I just feel like that's kind of weird, especially if there are people that wants the News Plus and the Fitness plan onto the family one, but they're gonna have to pay up for something that they probably don't even need, which is the extra iCloud storage, you know? So I'm not so sure as to why they had to make that exclusive to the Premiere one. And it says that, like, if you do that, you could save $20 per month with that, though. But it's like, I feel like it would still be a better combination with that without iCloud, you know, changes. But I guess it is what it is at this point. It's still odd.
It's weird. I guess iCloud, the 2 terabyte storage, I mean, even if you're buying it for yourself, I feel like that's way more than enough. Like right now, I used 50. Maybe in the future I'll upgrade to like 100 or whatever their next one up is. But after that, I don't think I'll go farther than that. But it's weird because it's kind of like a weird dilemma, because if you take the cost breakdown of each of those services, it's more than $30 a month. So I guess in the sense you're getting a deal, but it's just weird that they're like, we're here to bring you a subscription service for all-in-one, but there's 3 different plans and you can choose which one you want, I guess. It's just kind of a weird, it's just like a weird Apple thing to do. They always do something a little like a push in the right direction, I guess, but then there's some just weird twist to it that like not everyone understands. Like it's weird.
I don't usually use the Apple One subscription. The only thing I'm subscribed to is pretty much the iCloud storage. And,
same.
You know, like, honestly, like, I'm not interested in the music and TV and arcade and stuff like that. Like, that's the only thing I need. Plus, like, you know, again, like, I do need that storage, especially for, like, you know, my designing and my editing service. Because not only that I manage from Windows products and such here and there software, but I also, like, kind of dabble in a little, doing a little bit more learning with Apple products here and there and Mac OS. Or anything just Apple exclusive and such. Like, I'm kind of managing that there. So, so I don't know, like, if you guys think it's, like, worth it at that point with the subscription, that's up to you and such, though. I just think that, like, with how they're doing the subscription plans, it's a little bit questionable at face. I think that they should do some changes with that, honestly, especially to, like, how much, like, the plans are, for the $14.95, the $19.95, and the $29.95. I don't know. But that's pretty much all to what I really have to say about the Apple One subscription. How about you?
Yeah. I mean, yeah, pretty much. Same thoughts. It's kind of weird. I guess it makes sense. You save money, but it's just a weird little caveat they added in there. But and they glanced over it like pretty quickly too in the conference. Like it was a pretty quick kind of glance over before they ended everything out.
That's a pre-recording.
Yeah.
But now with all things considered, that's pretty much with everything they have presented with the Apple presentation. So one thing that I want to mention this as well, that as I mentioned earlier, like, this is big for what they've done with their models. I cannot imagine what the rest is going to look like. And starting off, I want to get this one out of the way, are the iPhones. So, as mentioned before, we were supposed to have an iPhone presentation, or not an iPhone presentation, but iPhones being included into this presentation. However, it's not. But apparently we might get an Apple a dedicated iPhone event next month. I'm not so sure about that.
Yeah,
but
those are the rumors going around, is that there's an October iPhone event because of the pandemic.
Right. Which, if that's the case, then I'm pretty sure that I'm not going to set my expectations too high, but because of what bar they set for this presentation, I kind of want to set the same bar with the iPhone, because I can't imagine what they're going to do with that. They're usually impressive with the iPhone. Personally, for me, it hasn't been anything like wow since the 10 for me. The 11
Yeah.
it's pretty like decent, but like I said, it wasn't like anything extraordinary. So I'm
Yes.
assuming and hoping that the 12 or whatever the fuck they're gonna call this one, it's gonna be good, especially for what they set the bar for their other products into the lineup.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they did anything. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they just jumped out with something crazy on the new iPhone, because like 10 was a big jump and stuff. The 11, I mean, it was cool and all. Like, it was a little jump, but like 12, I'm hoping for like a big jump. I mean, maybe we'll see that A14 or even the A13. Maybe we'll see that new chip in there. I'm hoping to see that new A14 in there. That would be pretty nice to just give that iPhone an extra boost in power for like seemingly no reason. And the A14 doesn't need to be in an iPhone, but that would be cool to see the A14 in there.
So so here's the thing that I kind of want to mention out to the public.
Mhm.
So Joshua and I, we have our current 2020 MacBooks.
Oh boy.
And after for what they presented here, man, what their new Macs are gonna look like, and if they actually deliver the promised like chipsets and like the upgraded components that they're gonna do with it, oh man, no, I'm sorry, but we gotta sell our Macs quick.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Once those Apple Silicon chips are in the Macs, my 2020 MacBook Pro is going back to Apple. I will trade this sucker in. I don't care. I'll get rid of it. I just think with the power of the A14 chip, and like if they put a new I don't think they'll put like a completely new chip in the first line of Apple Silicon MacBooks. They'll probably put in like the A14X is what they've been talking a lot about, but if they put something in the MacBook that's even on par or just a close to the A14 Bionic, I mean that would be insane.
Right? It's for me at least, like, because I do graphic design and video editing and such, like this would be super helpful. I need this, so I would love to like have that type of good flexibility and good performance wise, and we be out here. It's totally fine. Just say Apple, like, I doubt that you're listening to my podcast, but this is my message to you. Just say that you're doing this. Just say it. That's all I need to hear. The minute that you say that, I just need to sell that thing. Thank you very much. Anywho,
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure.
But I'm not so sure as to what else they could do with the other products though. But I want to go back with the iPhone real quick. Now, the only thing that I see is the fact that, like, to be fair, I don't think we've had the lightning port connector for that long in comparison as to the old charger that we had exclusive, which it was like what called the 24-pin connector or something?
Yeah, something like that. I think it was like the 24-pin. They got rid of that after the iPhone 5. After that, for the iPhone 5, they changed it out. Yeah.
Yeah. And, it's not even, like, I guess you could say since it's 2020, like, they introduced that around, like, 2013, 14, around that time.
Yeah.
So it has, like, I guess you could say it's been a little bit of a lengthy time, though, but to me, it doesn't feel like it's been that long. So if they're switching out the lightning ports to USB-C on the iPads, it'd be really crazy if they're going to start doing that for the iPhones.
Yeah. I'm going to be real. I hate, like, plugging everything in. I mean, the MacBook has USB-C. Most of the iPads now have USB-C. It's really weird going in to like plug my phone in to my MacBook, and it's like, oh, I can't, whatever. I can't do it because it's USB-A to like Lightning. It's not even like USB-C to Lightning. I don't know. I would like to see USB-C on the iPhone just for like ease of everything. It's 2020, just USB-C everything. Transfer everything faster. It's got faster transfer speeds. I think USB-C on the iPhones would be a nice touch to just make everything USB-C.
You want to know what I think it would be so cool?
What's that?
I saw a comment of this like on a YouTube video like way long ago. And it was like for a product that they released like earlier this year. I can't remember which one it was. I think it was like at their last Apple presentation before they had this one. But somebody said that it'd be so cool if you could have as an iPhone act as like a touchpad for your Mac or your iPad, and I'm just like, stop. That's too
wow.
much power. That's
That-
way too much power.
Yeah, I don't know about that one.
I don't know. I to me it kind of like, in a sense, it kind of just sounds stupid, but like it's just like, oh, wait a minute, hold on, wait, if you think about it, it could be convenient, it could actually work out well.
Yeah,
So
kind of cool. I think that would be kind of cool, but
it's one
I
of
don't
those
know.
unnecessary features, but it would be stupid cool to have, which Apple's prone to be known for that.
Oh yeah. I think that would be a nice touch. USB. I don't know. I just like USB-C. It's in a lot of stuff I use. It's a nice port. It's fast. It's easy. A lot of things use it nowadays. I just think Apple, they're slowly making that transition to USB-C for everything. I think the iPhone would be a next step forward when they do that, when they have their next iPhone event.
Yeah. So, but I mean, hey, it's only a matter of time till we see what's gonna happen in the future. So, but yeah, no, I think that's all going to be for this podcast episode. Because I pretty much got out for everything that I wanted to say. Like, now at this point, it's like I just want that chipset confirmation for the Mac, and whatever stupid features, go off. I don't care, just go off.
Exactly.
Actually, wait, no, I lied. There is one more thing that I want to mention. Okay.
Okay.
So this is just a personal thing. Like, I know this may not be relevant to anybody, but for me, for the long time that I've been a hardcore Apple fanboy, I stopped being a hardcore Apple fanboy after the iPhone 5. And that's because I just got caught up with life and such. I never usually pay attention to Apple conferences, but I started recently getting back into it because of the stuff that they've been doing. I'm not gonna lie, the one thing that I kind of want to mention is that I am not a fan as to how they do their presentations. I understand they're trying to make it more modernized though, but I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like it when they used to be stupid, but how do I put this? They had an old traditional way as to how they did their videos and stuff like that. It felt a lot more professional. Now they're kind of doing the music kicking and stuff like that, which, I mean, for me, I'm not a huge fan of that because it doesn't feel like Apple. Because I usually like the chill music and stuff like that, and something that they make it so grand. So that's the vibe that I kind of miss when they did their presentations and their reveal trailers of their products. Though I'm not a huge fan of it though, but that's just a little bit of a pet peeve that I have. That's just me though. So
that's fair.
But yeah, that's all going to be for the podcast episode. If you're listening to the show on Apple Podcasts, be sure to leave out a 5-star rating if you enjoyed this podcast. Hit up the Storm Connect Twitter at StormConnectEN or other platforms this podcast is on for the feedback on the show. And also, thank you, Joshu, as always, for supporting me and for
thanks for having me, man.
Of course, my pleasure. And of course, you guys could go follow on Joshu on his Twitter. I will also leave the link to his Twitter onto the podcast description there. He does some content creation here and there, not so often, but you guys could follow him just because he's cool, just because I said so.
Thanks, man.
So
maybe stuff down the line I'll do in the future, but yeah, we'll see.
Hey, I look forward to it. So yeah, this is Edo Ninja. Stay safe, healthy, and please, for fuck's sakes, wash your goddamn hands. I feel like that was just necessary to mention that. I'll see you guys on the next podcast episode. See ya.